Our theme for the month is about shining our brilliance. The idea that we came here to shine bright like a diamond and to see it in ourselves and to see it in others. I have a belief that it is our purpose, our mission, our reason for being here on earth is to reflect the bright brilliance of the divine, to be set ablaze with the power of spirit, to express and illuminate the light that is God. That's why we're here. And we each do it differently and uniquely, but we are here to shine that light, to shine the diamond, if you will, of who we are. And I believe that even though we may think we've got some rough edges that need to be, need to be softened and rounded, we may think we have polishing to happen, we may think that we've got a lot of dirt and grime over us covering, and so much so that we might not even see the brilliance that's there. It is there. Capital B brilliance, the brilliance of God, the brilliance of spirit, source, essence, whatever term you want to use, is there patiently waiting for you to say yes to it. Patiently waiting for you to be the outlet for this brilliance. So I want you to say something after me. Are you willing to play this morning? Yes, good. My brilliance, let me hear it. My brilliance, with a capital B, is waiting to shine. Let's say that all together now. My brilliance, with a capital B, is waiting to shine. That's the truth. Now I want you to turn to somebody and look at them and say, I see your brilliance with a capital B. Okay, turn to somebody else, a different person, and say that. I see your brilliance with a capital B. Go to one more person, new person. I see your, yeah, good. You might have to oh dear me, you might have to actually stand up. I see your brilliance with a capital B. That's a lot of brilliance. Let me ask you a question. Is it easier? Which one was easier? To proclaim your own brilliance or to see the brilliance in someone else? Some or both. I like that, but I heard a lot of it was easier to see the brilliance in someone else. I'm glad you're here today because I'm hoping we're going to shift that today for those of you who it was easier to see the brilliance of someone else. If it was already easy to see your brilliance, yay, we're just going to polish that a little bit more today. Just a little bit more, give it a little bit more of a shine. The truth is, let me change that. The fact is, for many of us, it is easier to see it in other people. The truth is, you would not be able to see it in them if it were not in you. That's the truth. That's the truth. You can, yeah. So you are, in fact, brilliant as this diamond. You shine as bright as this diamond. You are as valuable as this would be if this were really a diamond. As a matter of fact, you are more valuable than this would be were it really a diamond. But it's our symbol this month for our work together. So we're looking last week and the next 3 weeks, today and next 2 weeks, at the 4C rating scale of diamonds. The cut, the clarity, the color, the carat. Last Sunday, Reverend Sally Robbins did a beautiful job with exploring the idea of the cut, from cut to brilliance. She talked about it. It was gorgeous. A beautiful experience we had last week with Daniel Nahmod, and oh my goodness, we did some church last week is what I have to say about that. We did agape-style church that lasted an hour and 40 minutes. Oh my golly. It won't last that long today, I promise. But nobody wanted to leave, actually. I had several people go, I could have stayed a whole lot longer and heard more. But today we're going to move to the second one, which is clarity. The clarity of a diamond has a lot to say and could be a great metaphor, a great teaching tool, just like the Bible is, a great teaching tool for our story of transformation. So can the idea of the levels of clarity of a diamond and how that can be a message for us in how we think about our own brilliance. So here's a little fact about diamonds that you might not know, is that they actually are brought up to the surface of the earth because of deep, deep, deep volcanic eruptions down in the, in the center of the earth. And so diamonds are brought up. And in that process of being brought up to the surface, some damage happens, if you will. Imperfections happen. And they're called inclusions, and inclusions are the damage inside the diamond, or blemishes, which are on the outside of the diamond. So evaluating a diamond's clarity is about the inclusions and the blemishes and how much they impact the brilliance and transparency and translucency of a diamond. The closer a diamond comes to being perfectly clear, and there is no diamond that is perfectly clear, but the closer it comes to being perfectly clear and flawless, the more valuable it is. So to rate a diamond, experts use a loupe, a 10 times magnification loupe, to look at it to see the inclusions and the blemishes. And then they have a rating scale of 5 levels. So I'm going to tell you those 5 levels, and as I do, I want you to be thinking, and this isn't about guilt or self-blame or anything like that, it's just I want you to evaluate. It's important to know where we are. So where are you if this were a rating scale of how you feel about you and how you feel about your life and the brilliance of your own life? I'm not going to ask you to answer that, but I want you to be thinking about it because it will impact where else we go today. So starting with level 1, which is the highest level, the most valuable, the most expensive diamond, has the rating of flawless, internally flawless. That's what it is. Flawless dash internally flawless. And that is the clearest possible diamond that there is, and that diamond costs the most money. That's level 1. Level 2 is very, very slightly included. And included means flawed, so I'm going to change it from now on and say flawed because that makes more sense to our heads. So the next level, the next best level, the next clearest level of a diamond is very, very slightly flawed. The next level down, the third level, is very slightly flawed, so just one very on that one. And that diamond has some inclusions that are perceptible, but they're classified as minor. The fourth level, as we're going down in quality and value, is slightly flawed. And a slightly flawed diamond has inclusions and blemishes, so internal and external flaws that are noticeable. You can see them. And then the last level is called flawed, just flawed. And it is the least valuable because it's are so noticeable that the transparency and the brilliance is lost. So using this diamond clarity scale, again, not to answer this out loud, but inside, how do you think of yourself and your life? Do you put yourself on the flawless side? I love it. Flawless, internally flawless, or on the flawed side, or somewhere in between? How do you look at yourself, which then informs how you look at your life? But the first place it starts with is how are you looking at yourself? So I said at the beginning, each one of us comes here to shine our life bright like a diamond, to be a blaze, to be a fire with the light of God. I'm going to add to that something I say here all the time, but I'll put it in the context of today. That light that you came here to shine, the diamond that you came here to be, is flawless, eternally flawless. I said eternally. It's internally is the real thing, but it is eternally as well. Because that diamond that you are here to express is the diamond that is God. You are flawless, internally flawless. You are that, even if you don't believe it, even if you don't think it, even if you don't act it, even if you don't speak it, the fact is you are. And here's another fact. If you think and speak like you are flawed, then your life will reflect that. If you speak and think like you are only slightly flawed, then your life will reflect that. If you speak and think like your life is only very slightly flawed, then you'll be reflective of that. If you think and speak about yourself and your life that you are only very, very slightly flawed, then your life will reflect that. And of course, if you think of yourself as flawless, internally flawless, then the fact is, the truth is, your life will reflect that. Because what you think is what you get. We know that. We teach that here all the time. How we think about our own brilliance impacts the way our brilliance comes forth in our life and how brilliant our life is. So I ask you, where would you put yourself, don't have to answer it, but where would you put yourself right here this morning on that clarity scale, that scale of a diamond? And I chose those words carefully. I said, where would you this morning put yourself on that clarity scale? Because the deal is, today, right here, this morning, you are the one who gets to say. You are the one who gets to decide. Now, it may be that your belief that you're flawed or slightly flawed or very slightly flawed or very, very slightly flawed, whatever it is, whatever those are, it could be that that belief came because of some experiences you had in the past as a kid, as a young adult. It could be as ways you were treated. Perhaps you had some abuse in your life, and all that, our hearts go out for people who have had that. And I know in a room this size with this many people, we have people sitting in this room who had those experiences. Maybe you have done things in your life in the past which you are so ashamed of, and you beat yourself up about them all the time, and you regret that you did them, and you think you're bad because you did them. Everything I just said, my friends, is not in this now moment. It's back there. It's back there. Today, you get to say. Today, you get to choose how you put yourself on that rating scale. And my invitation to you this morning is, wherever you put yourself, honestly, if today you just don't take it up one level. And if you're already up there at the flawless, internally flawless, fantastic. Your job is to go out and shine that light and change the world. So go do it. But do it here. Stay here and do it. Do it in this community and out in the world. That's what I meant. Righto. Most of us don't put ourselves up on that level. We think of ourselves as flawed, or slightly flawed, or very slightly flawed, or very, very slightly flawed, but nonetheless flawed. But because here's the deal. Unlike the diamond, which is stuck with its clarity rating, it can't change its clarity rating. We can. We can choose anew every moment. We get to choose every single moment how we think and feel about ourselves, how we act toward ourselves. Did anybody buy last week from Daniel Nahmod? He had the CD that had like 6 songs on it. It's like a pre-CD kind of. Any of you buy that? I got one. Oh my goodness! Oh, if you didn't buy it, you're sorry, because you should be sorry, because it's got some incredible songs. But there's one. It's called "If I Were Blind for a Day," meaning if I didn't see, if my eyes didn't deceive me to see all the flaws in myself, how would I really look at myself? And it's just so incredibly beautiful and speaks to this idea. What if we chose not to see those flaws? But what if we chose to see ourselves as flawless, internally flawless? The question of the morning is, how clear are your thoughts and feelings about yourself? Because the way you think about yourself creates your world. We know as religious scientists that the clearer our thinking is, the clearer our creation is. And I love this quote from Ernest Holmes, page 241 of the textbook. He says, "Clarified thought," meaning thought that is clear, "clarified thought makes easy the way for the operation of the life essence through us." Clarified thought makes easy the way. It gives space for the life essence, meaning God, brilliance, the diamond that we are, to find its way through us. It doesn't take a geologist or a rocket scientist to know, to figure out that when your thoughts are clear about who and whose you are, and they're clear about the life that you desire to create, then you operate, you set a law in motion that brings that about in your life. So I want to tell you a story about how this works. So this is how it works. And I'll change a couple words because first service got on me about this. So I said there was an elderly couple in their 70s, and I heard a lot of groans. And then I thought, well, I'm getting close enough to that age that I don't want to call that elderly anymore. So there we go. So I'll just say there was a couple in their 70s who there's a couple in their 70s who had been married for 50 years, and they were celebrating their 50th year anniversary. And don't you know, in the middle of their celebration of their 50th anniversary, a fairy godmother popped in and said, I am here to offer each of you a wish. You each get one wish. And they're both, oh, yay. So the wife says, I know. I want to go on an around-the-world trip with my beloved of 50 years. And so, whoosh, poof, right there were tickets for plane rides, for cruises, hotel reservations, the itinerary, everything was right there. That she needed some spending money right there for her and her husband's trip around the world. And then the fairy godmother says to the husband, so tell me what it is that you want. And he thinks about it for a minute. And he says, I think I'd like to take that trip around the world with a companion 30 years younger than me. And with that, whoosh, he became 100. You got to be clear. Got to be clear. Clarity in our thinking and our feelings brings out clarity and brilliance in our lives. So, how do we do that? How do we do that? There's a difference, and you may not realize this, but I want to make sure you do. There is a difference between mental activity and true, clear thought. Mental activity, all the chitter, the chatter, the business, the goings on up here. Does anybody know about that mental activity? Anybody have mental activity? Right. Yeah. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about here is true, clear thought. True, clear thought are thoughts of truth. Truth, thoughts of peace, thoughts of your own brilliance, thoughts that come from the depth of your being, thoughts that are about happiness and love, thoughts like our great new congregational song, Love and Freedom, thoughts of the lyrics of Glenn's song. Get his CD. That was a great, you've got that song on a CD? Yeah, that's on your CD. Great. Those are true, clear thoughts. Those true, clear thoughts bring about brilliance in your life. But they require something of us. They require paying attention. Because otherwise, you've had this, right? Your thoughts just want to go willy-nilly. They just want to go. And I love this quote from Stuart Wilde, who's a great New Thought author. He said, without mental discipline and some kind of mental control, it's like having 40 chickens in a truck and they're constantly flying about. There are feathers everywhere and a tremendous commotion is going on. Somehow you've got to sit your chickens down in a little row and keep them quiet. So the question is, how do we sit our chickens down in a little row and keep them quiet? Keep them from the commotion and all the feathers and all that activity that's going on. Well, it starts with paying attention. Ralph Waldo Emerson said the great quote, which I use a lot. I love it. Stand guard, you guys, many of you know this, stand guard the portals of your mind. Stand guard the portals of your mind. But that's where he stopped with that statement anyway. I'm going to say standing guard the portals of your mind is only the beginning. That's just the first step. You got to do something after that. So we stand guard the portals of our mind. And then what? Well, I'm going to give you an affirmation, and then I'm going to tweak this affirmation, that I've used forever. I got it from my first spiritual coach, my first spiritual mentor, my first spiritual teacher, who showed up in the form of my therapist. She was an amazingly spiritual woman, got me into religious science, and started teaching me about this thing called changing my thinking. And the affirmation, she has a group of affirmations that we now give out here to people, but it's a whole bunch. But the one that I'm remembering this morning is each time a negative thought, attempts to enter my mind, I become aware of it and I replace it with a positive thought. Each time a negative thought about myself, about my brilliance, attempts to enter my mind, I become aware of it and I replace it with a positive thought. That's a powerful, powerful affirmation. And with deep regard and respect to Marilyn, I'm going to tweak it. Because I think there's something that needs to happen between noticing and replacing. Because if we just notice and we're in an energy of that thought, and if we just try to replace it with a positive thought, we're still in that energy of that negative thought, and that positive thought, that thought of truth, doesn't have the oomph. Anybody ever had the experience of saying affirmations and then kind of feeling flat about them, or having them not really be impactful? I have talked to a lot of people who have had that. It's because we're saying words, but we're not bringing the energy of what we really want into those words. So I'm going to tweak this affirmation by this way. Each time a negative thought attempts to enter my mind, I become aware of it. I stop and deeply breathe. I consciously expand my energy field, talk about that in a minute, and then I replace it with a positive thought. Okay? So, whenever I become aware, I've stood guard the portal of my mind, I become aware of a thought that does not serve my brilliance, that does not support the life that I choose to live, that does not support living in wholeness and peace and love. Maybe it's a thought about somebody else, maybe it's a thought about myself, it's a thought about my life. Whenever I have that, I've noticed it. I stop. I take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Right there, that connects you with the source of your being. Breath, spirit come from the same root word. When we take a deep breath, we like infuse our body with the energy of source. So we take a deep breath. And then I love this idea that we are energetic beings, and we know that, right? We know we're energetic beings. And our energy doesn't stop at our skin, right? It goes. But when we're in this contracted way of thinking, our energy is also contracted. So make a conscious decision after you breathe to expand that out. Think about it all the way around you, and all the way above you, and all the way below you. Expand that out. See? I'm getting an amen from the back pew. That's what I'm getting right there. So you've breathed, you've expanded your energy, and then you say whatever that statement might be. So really quickly here, I want a little bit of help. This is a little bit of help time. I know you all who've been in this study for a while have got probably some things lasered in your mind of things that you say, that affirmations that you make, the truth statement that you say. If you don't have some, I want you to get some lasered in your mind so you can go to them. They become a habit of attitude. So somebody give me one that is your go-to when you start to get that mental activity. Yes, Sandy, Reverend Sandy. Let go and let God. Nice. Give me another one. Yes. Everything is always working out for me. I love that. Yes. Suzanne? Susie. I was close. Every day and every way, my life gets better and better. Yes. Gloria. God can only express through me. Mary Beth. There is only good. Yes, Catherine. I am speaking, thinking, and acting from the highest and best within me. Oh, you guys are good. Yes. This too shall pass. Yes. This is a wonderful day. This is happening for my highest good. Wow. So that was way too quick to write those down. But I encourage you to jump online, listen to the podcast, somehow capture those. Because if you don't have your list of things you turn to, those were amazing. And what I invite you to do is to have fun with standing guard the portal of your mind. Make it be an adventure. Ooh, today I'm going to notice how many times I want to go down that negative road, and how many times I'm going to stop, breathe, expand, and shift my thought. use it as like a treasure map, as an adventure, and see how your brilliance starts to shine. So I want to leave you with a quote from our founder, Ernest Holmes. It's in the book called Living the Science of Mind, and it's one of my favorites, actually. It's a little bit long, but it just speaks to the power that lives in us and the power that is even greater than we are. So close your eyes, and we'll just move right into this, into our opening prayer from this. So this is Living the Science of Mind, page 66, excuse me. Ernest writes, "Someone has said, there is a river of life, clear as crystal, flowing through the body of humanity, uniting every part into one great wholeness. Jesus spoke of the well of water from which we drink, from which, if we drink, we would never thirst again. Throughout the Bible, we have this simile of water, typifying the flowing power of pure spirit. We say that the river of life forever flowing through us is ever ready and willing to take the form which we give it. It appears that we have the ability, at least temporarily, to pollute this stream of life with the consciousness of hate, despair, or any negative thought which denies its purity. But of course, we do not really have the power to destroy, only to mold and remold. It is fortunate indeed that this is true, for in spite of all our misdirections, we are still being carried forward on the bosom of this infinite stream to a harbor of perfect safety. We may rest in absolute assurance that good will be the final goal of all things. We can hasten the advent of this good by definitely clarifying our thought and by daily meditating upon the invisible source, the wellspring of life within each one of us. So let us now take a moment to meditate upon that invisible source, the wellspring of life, the brilliant diamond that is within each of us, that is each one of us, that is you, that is me. So just for a moment, in your own heart, I want you to deeply breathe, see yourself very expansive, and say to yourself, I am God's diamond in form. I am the brilliant light of Source. I now clearly see my good. I now clearly see the good of all. That which has stopped me in the past is now washed away, and I am clear. For this I am deeply grateful. I call it good, oh so very, very good. And in faith, in trust, and in truth, I let it be. And so it is.